Now, according to today's Sun's newspaper, Keir Starmer volunteered to work for a string of evil killers, including a monster who buried his 2-year-old stepkid alive.
This is an extraordinary story in the newspaper today. What page is it on? Let's just get this right. Page 11. The Labour chief apparently also boasted last week about his international legal work fighting against the death penalty. So, will this put voters off voting red when it comes to the upcoming general election? Is it just the media having a go? Joining us to discuss this now is former Labour advisor John McTernan. John, welcome to Talk Today. The headline that screams from the Sun this morning is "Baby Killers and Axe Murderers Saved by Starmer." Now, I know what you're going to tell me. You are going to quite rightly say that any good defence lawyer or barrister takes on cases and everybody is entitled. But this is the beginning of the press shining a light very brightly on a man who is assumed is going to walk very easily into number 10. Agreed?
Oh, yeah. This is the product of last year Tory Central Office telling the staff to go through all the details of Keir's career. And the actual fact is he did this because Keir's opposed the death penalty. Like the United Kingdom, we abolished the death penalty in the 60s. And, you know, nobody claims that the murderers who get imprisoned for life in the UK are nice people. But we abolished the death penalty for very, very good reasons, many of them to do with miscarriage of justice, which can never be reversed if somebody has received the death penalty. And Keir is rightly proud of his work to abolish the death penalty and to across the Commonwealth.
Not a good look, though, yes. Jumping back in quickly, John. I mean, politics, I'm sure, to people like you and others, is about detail. Sadly, for many in the general public, without being disrespectful, it's about headlines, it's about optics. Baby killers and axe murderers saved by Starmer is not a great headline. Do you think this will affect how people put their trust or not in him, my friend?
No, because it's the thing about this is it's a smear. They were saved from death, saved from execution. They weren't actually saved from prison sentence. Is the first thing to say. And the second one is the story is buried inside the Sun on page 11. It's not like the splash on the front. Even the Sun realised this isn't a great personal attack, because the point about attacks in politics is they have to go to some bigger flaw in the character. What the Tories try to say about Keir Starmer is he's not effective, he's weak, he's boring. This is effective. He actually abolished something globally. He campaigned globally. He got the law changed. And if you want to look at his record in his actual job in the UK, he imprisoned terrorists and he actually appealed sentences that were too low for terrorists and took them to the highest court in the country to get longer sentences imposed. So I think you have to say, if you want a contest about the jobs people did before politics, you have Keir Starmer, who prosecuted terrorists as the DPP, versus, Rishi Sunak, who made millions in the city. I don't think you can say, look at Keir's previous career and say it's relevant, and then say it doesn't matter that Rishi was a city boy. I don't think city boys are that popular around the country. The reality about politics is people care about your character, and they care about what you did previously. If it shows you were a hypocrite, Keir's always been against the death penalty, or if it shows that you have a character flaw. And I don't think this shows that. And nor do I think actually that it matters to attack Rishi for working in the city before. Lots of people work in finance.
Yeah, John,
the issue about
Labour know that these types of criticisms are going to be levelled at Keir Starmer, and probably with sort of increasing intensity over the months to come. Talk us behind the scenes at Labour. Presumably, they already know this information about Keir Starmer. Do they have sort of like ready-to-go defences? Are they a watch and wait? Do they go out on the attack on the Conservatives? What's their strategy for handling a story like this?
The strategy in politics is always to look at your own side as ferociously as your opponents would. So you go through everything and you go, okay, we're going to be attacked on this. What's the defence? What's our preparation? Who should we get at speaking about this? That is the way that Labour will look at every single area. You've seen it in the defence in depth about spending promises. We know Labour is going to be attacked on spending promises, so that's all been closed down. That comes straight back to, everybody in the Labour Party knows to say the line, and the line is that Labour will have fiscal rules, and those fiscal rules will come above all the desires that individual shadow cabinet members and trade unions and bits of the public service have for spending money. And so that's what you do.
Just on that point, John, if I could jump in. Because I said to Rosie the other day, whenever I've interviewed a left-wing frontbencher in the last couple of months, they're very polished, they're very on message. To me, and I'm not a strategist, I look at Starmer, and I'm not being disrespectful, let me get through this. I think the public have decided he's dull and boring and steady, and yet they probably feel, after what they've been served up the last few years, that dull and boring and steady is perhaps something they'd be prepared to go with. Of course, there's going to be scrutiny about money, but let's talk about what happened. I really want your opinion on this. TfL and that dreadful man, in my opinion, probably not in yours, Sadiq Khan, he managed to find an extra 30 million in about 7 minutes yesterday to avert a strike. Many on the right saying this is exactly what to expect under a Labour government. They'll find the money and pay these unions off, and that's what we must look forward to. What would your response to that be, John?
My response to that is that by and large, for the government sets up peer review bodies because the government doesn't want to be the one sitting face to face with the unions. The government wants an independent process and it says that's where it's got to, and that's what you're going to get. Because the issue with pay in the public sector is unless you increase the envelope that's available from the central government, you got to increase fares or you've got to sack staff. And to be fair to Sadiq, he's been closing the ticket offices. He's been making the efficiencies across the entire transport system to make this possible, to find extra money. And the thing about pay disputes is there's always something you can do, and there's always a deal to be done. The issue in the junior doctors, for example, is it was ridiculous of the Health Secretary, Victoria Atkins, to call junior doctors in training. That's insulting.
It's also insulting, John, with the greatest respect. You can talk me off this. It's insulting in the middle of a cost of living crisis to expect anybody in this country to think that 35% is going to happen. You can. I'll argue with that till the cows come home. So
no, you can totally call it insulting because it was a deliberate attempt to denigrate the doctors that look after most of us when we're in hospital.
But you're not getting 35%, are you? You're not getting 35%.
No, but no. Everybody knows. Look, but everybody knows there's going to be a deal. You don't get a deal with somebody who insults you. You get a deal with somebody who goes, "Let's look at how we phase it. We accept there's an issue. We understand how you feel." The best thing to do to get a deal is not to go bog off. The thing to do is go, come on, let's sit down, let's have a chat about it.
I mean, in fairness to the Health Secretary, that is what she said. She said within 20 minutes, if you're stopping striking, we'll sit down and talk. So I don't think it's... And maybe that misuse of language, I'm sure she regrets how she described the junior doctors. It can't be that, John, that scuppers the entire, negotiation process. That would be, juvenile.
No, but the biggest issue in the public sector is that while there's been downward pressure for a decade on public sector pay, that's not been true of workers in the private sector. That by and large, wages in the private sector are matching inflation. Now that's not great. You're keeping pace. You're not getting ahead. But the downward pressure, when there are other people competing for, Australian hospitals are coming to the UK to recruit and they're saying, we can pay you more and we've got sunshine and we've got beaches. And you've got to find some way to give people the desire to stay and live.
I've got an answer to that, but we're out of time. I'll tell you very quickly, and you can laugh at me. I'm not. I'll tell you exactly what I do. I would say to junior doctors, we're going to train you. We do not expect all those loans I would swallow in return for a contract that says you will stay with the National Health Service for 10 years and give us back what we've paid to train you. You don't disappear to Australia.
I bet people would take that deal. The loans are quite onerous after the long.
I definitely would. John, it is always a pleasure. We love having you on.
Let's talk about that another time.
Thanks a lot, mate. I really appreciate you being on. John McTernan there. Nice guy.